You know Brandon Sanderson, right? He might seem like a normal, cool, everyday dude, but he's not. He's actually a genius. His brain occupies other planes of existence, playing 4D chess, thinking 20 moves ahead of the rest of us. When it comes to magic, at least. Book after book after book, he comes up with magic systems so unique and uses them in such creative ways that my mind is always blown. The man is a magical genius, there's no denying that. But how does he do it? Why are his magic systems so unique? And most importantly, can the rest of us learn to do what he does? Well, I think yes. You see, he has 3 principles which he always follows, called the Sanderson's Laws of Magic. He's written on this topic before, but I have chewed everything up, processed it up for you, and now I'm about to feed you some Sanderson wisdom. So if you stick to the end, you'll know how he creates such unique magic systems. And we'll see if the rest of us have learned to do the same.
Law 1.
An author's ability to solve conflict with magic is directly proportional to how well the reader understands said magic. Let's illustrate this using a chart. Man, do I love charts, they're awesome. On one axis, we'll put the reader's understanding of the magic, and on the other, we'll put the author's ability to solve conflicts with the magic. The law says they are directly proportional, so we can visualize that with a line like this. When one grows, so does the other. So if the readers really understand the magic and know what it can do, then the author can use it to solve conflicts in the book. But if the magic is vague and mysterious and the readers don't exactly know how it works and what it can do, then the author cannot use the magic to solve conflicts. Let me give you some examples. Gandalf is a wizard, but we don't exactly know what he can or cannot do. We don't understand the magic or its limitations. Let's say that on the axis, our understanding is somewhere around here. Pretty low. That means that the author's ability to solve conflict with the magic is also pretty low. Which means that if Gandalf uses magic to conveniently solve every problem that the Fellowship encounters, readers would not be satisfied with the story. Imagine for a second that Gandalf just teleported the ring inside Mount Doom. There would be no tension, no conflict, the story would not happen. The readers would not be satisfied because it would feel like the solution came out of nowhere and it was incredibly convenient. Now think of Superman. Yes, his powers aren't magic, but in terms of storytelling, they are a magic system. We have high understanding of Superman's powers. We know what he can do. He can fly, he's strong, invulnerable, shoots lasers out of his eyes, etc. Because we know this, the author's ability to use magic to solve conflicts is also high. So as readers, we have no problems or objections when Superman flies up into the sky to save Lois Lane from falling or when he lifts an entire building above his head. Brandon Sanderson uses hard magic systems, which means that the powers, rules, costs, and limitations of the magic are clear to the readers, so he can freely use that magic in cool ways that allow the characters to overcome their problems while still being satisfying to the readers. And almost always these scenes are epic and accompanied by awesome character moments. All of that makes the magic memorable. In short, the better the audience understands the magic, the more effective it is in storytelling. This means that the magic cannot be used as a convenient solution to every problem the characters face, making the story much more creative and interesting. Law 2. Limitations are greater than powers. This one is my favorite. With this law, Sanderson states that the restrictions and boundaries of the magic system are more important than the powers and abilities it grants. Remember when you were a little kid? A wee lad, if you will, and imagine yourself as Superman? Because you didn't know any better, you probably imagined having all of his powers, but none of his weaknesses. You were the greatest superhero ever, beating every single villain you encountered without an issue. It's okay, I did it too. But such characters are only interesting to young kids. Characters need limitations, weaknesses, and flaws. And when it comes to creating unique magic systems, limitations help in several ways. First, it's difficult to come up with a creative magic system using powers alone. It's practically impossible to come up with a magical effect that no one else has thought of before. But introduce a few limitations and you've got something really creative. Take Brandon's Allomancy as an example. In the Mistborn books, magic users can move things with their minds. This is simply telekinesis, which has been done hundreds of times before, and on its own, it's not really interesting or innovative. But Sanderson then introduced a few limitations. 1. The objects must be metal. 2. The magic users can only push the metal objects directly away from them or pull them directly towards themselves. 3. The weight of the object is important. A lighter object is pushed away while a heavier object pushes the user away. 4. The magic users need to burn metal resources in order to access their power. You can see how with just a few limitations, Brandon transformed basic telekinesis into something really unique. But more than just coming up with a cool magic system, limitations force authors to be more creative in how they write scenes. If we get back to the Allomancy example, because of the limitations, characters can't just wave their arm and send something flying across the room. They need to be aware of their surroundings, position themselves carefully, track the resources that power their abilities. All of this encourages better writing and leads to some awesome and memorable scenes. And another thing, limitations create tension. I'm sorry, I know you imagined yourself as an all-powerful hero as a kid, but you were dumb and didn't know any better. Now, it's time for a better fantasy. You see, if Superman is just stronger than his opponents and is simply beating them, there is no tension in the scene, we know who wins there. But Superman, affected by kryptonite, trying to beat the bad guys is much scarier. We keep wondering, is he going to win? How is he going to do it? Suddenly, there's tension, and the whole scene is much more fun. So next time you imagine yourself as a superhero, give yourself some limitations. And that is why Sanderson writes hard magic systems with lots of limitations, rules, costs, and clearly defined powers, and how they end up being memorable. Law 3. Expand what you already have before you add something new. Authors often want to add cool new powers and abilities to their worlds to make them epic, but that's actually counterproductive. Brandon says that in fantasy, and in epic fantasy especially, it's not the number of powers that creates immersive and memorable world building, it's not even the powers themselves. It's instead how well they're ingrained into the society, culture, economics, religion, and the everyday lives of the people in the stories. So by thoroughly exploring and expanding on the existing components of a magic system and how they affect the world, Sanderson adds depth and complexity to his narratives. This enhances the overall richness of his fictional worlds, making them more engaging and memorable for readers. As a conclusion, these laws emphasize that the reader's understanding of the magic system allows for its effective use in storytelling, that limitations are more intriguing than the powers themselves, and that it's more satisfying to expand existing elements than to constantly introduce new ones. And that is how, by simply following and implementing these 3 principles, Brandon Sanderson creates really unique magic systems and worlds. The question that now remains is, can we replicate his process? Can we also create a cool and innovative magic system by following his laws? Well, I'm gonna try. I'm going to create a brand new magic system from scratch, following his laws, and I'm gonna see how unique it turns out to be. And as an added challenge, I'm going to use the story cubes as inspiration. But this video is already too long, so that will have to be a separate video, a part 2 if you will, coming in about 2 weeks. You won't want to miss it. On this channel we have fun with fantasy and sci-fi stories, so if you want to have fun with the rest of us, consider subscribing. Okay, bye!